Hi, everyone, and welcome to 3-Minute Warning, the sports show where we take 5 of today's hottest sports topics and break them down in 3 minutes or less. I am David Griffin, one of your hosts. I'm joined by Michael Medina.
How you guys doing?
And we have our producer up in the booth, Stephen Fox, making it work.
What's up?
So today we're going to get right into it. We're going to start that clock going. Talk about some NCAA tourney basketball. It is time.
It's everybody's talking about
it is
right
time.
now.
It is today.
Yes.
It is today. The big round starts today. Kentucky is playing. The question now we have is Kentucky, are they can they be beaten? Are they invincible?
Yeah, that's tough, man. I mean, because right now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe the Indiana Hoosiers were the last team to go completely perfect. 1976, I think that was. This isn't something that's happened often. I want to say about 8 teams have done that in college basketball. So, I mean, they're as close to perfect right now as you could probably get, but the odds are not in their favor.
We're talking about the old UCLA teams back in the day.
I believe they did that like 3 times. So this is like in there, like the 70s.
This is like the older version. But I think in the new system, the way it works now, I think there's been 5 teams that have gone undefeated in the regular season, but have not. None of those teams have won the tournament.
And that's what's so great about the tournament, though, because you could go undefeated, but it's like good luck, to actually doing that.
Let's talk about how good Kentucky is. Coach Larry Brown, former coach of the 76ers, had a great relationship with Allen Iverson.
Teams,
he said the other day that Kentucky could make it to the Eastern Conference playoffs. Or the Eastern playoffs. For the Eastern, it's like they could make it there.
Obviously, he's joking. You know what I mean? I think he's just cracking jokes because they are so good.
Could they beat the New York Knicks?
They probably could beat the Knicks. I could probably get a shot at playing for the Knicks at this point right now. No, but because they are so good, though. I mean, right now they're just dominating college basketball. Like I said before, I mean, look at their margin of victory for almost every single one of the games. It's at least 11, 12 points. Like, they're just dominating, so they're that good.
What's crazy about the NCAA tournament is that how much parity there exists in this. I mean, all these kids that are in the big schools leave after their freshman year. Most of them. They go for one and then they leave.
Which won't happen for too much longer come next year, I believe.
But that's so surprising about Kentucky because they had all these awesome freshmen. They got really good towards the end of the season. Yeah. And then most of them stuck it out. And now they're back and they're just tearing it up. That doesn't normally happen. There's this thing, parity where these small like George Mason, Gonzaga, the Butlers of the world have all these seniors because they don't go pro, and then they're still really good and they play well together and they beat some of the best teams. Like they'll beat a Duke or something like that.
Absolutely, but that goes to show you too with some of these programs like Kentucky, like Duke, Kansas. They're so good that they just keep cycling through all this fresh young talent. They just keep that going.
But let's talk about a little bit about this new rule that could possibly come into effect. It's talking about how you have to be a sophomore now, kind of like college football. College football, you have to play at least 2 years before you can go pro. They're thinking about doing that for basketball. I don't really think it's needed. I think some of these kids are ready to go right out of high school, like baseball or maybe like soccer.
For the players themselves, I get you. I agree with you. But for the programs, though, it helps. So, if you're a Kansas, for example, and you're a freshman, or you're an incoming freshman, you want to play, and you got a guy that's also a freshman ahead of you, and he's going to play over you, and so you're going to want to go to another team. So that gives another program a shot at grabbing some of this young talent. So it's good for the other teams.
It really feels like a money move. Oh, they want to keep all this talent. It's ridiculous. It's all about money. We got to go to the next topic. We're going to stay in college basketball. We're going to stay in it right now. We're going to talk about Jim Boeheim is retiring. In 3 years. He says 3 years.
3 years.
Coach Jim Boeheim, one of the most winning coaches in NCAA basketball.
Lost a lot of those wins now, though.
Yeah, lost 108
roughly, something like that, 12 scholarships.
Now, what cracks me up about this in terms of college scandals is they had a self-imposed ban, which that just means that they were going to get caught.
It's
that means
ridiculous.
They were going to get caught.
So when teams do this, when programs will do this, because it's not like the NCAA is going to be like, oh, you guys, you took responsibility.
We're going to punish
for your
ourselves.
actions. You know what? Let's just forget the whole thing.
Right.
No, it's stupid. But I mean, and it's funny when I think of him. I think about his little meltdown he had last season.
Against Duke.
Playing well.
Against Duke. Yeah,
they were
that
second in the country, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly. And they played Duke, and he just had this meltdown, and they really weren't the same. Again, now I'm not saying that was what caused it, but this team has basically just been on the downside since then.
And the thing is, these violations date back to 2001. Think about it. Carmelo Anthony was there 2002, 2003 season, won the championship. I believe he was a player that he was just incredible.
And that's another player that was there for his freshman year.
So I mean, and all these allegations have to do with tampering with grades. Has to do with, of course, boosters. You see that famous Blue Chips movie with Nick Nolte and Shaquille O'Neal boosting it. Friends of the program, all that kind of stuff. So this was big.
Yeah,
this is big. Was Carmelo bought? But I mean, this goes to the question: how many schools do this?
A lot of schools do this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say every school does this, but basically
We don't have proof or anything.
no, we don't have proof. I don't have any sources or anything like that. But a lot of these schools just don't get caught. It happens all the time. You look at college football. The University of Miami, for example. And schools like that. So it happens a lot.
And it's just crazy. Does this tarnish his legacy, do you think?
I think it does a little bit. I mean, I think overall, maybe 20 years down the road, maybe people will just kind of acknowledge what he's done because he is a good coach.
Right.
And again, like I said, a lot of teams, a lot of coaches do this, a lot of programs and stuff. He's a good coach, but I think right now, in the immediate future, because it's all you're going to think about.
Let's talk about some memorable scandals.
Okay.
I don't want to pick on you. You are a Miami fan.
Yes, I am.
You know a little thing about scandals. What's one of the more memorable scandals you can remember that stands out to you?
Well, I think, not just with Miami, but I think about SMU back in the 80s with the death penalty, the only team to really receive that. So that was a team that had Eric Dickerson, for example, was on that team. They had a few years where they were just basically almost came out of nowhere, and that was a team. Fortunately, Miami avoided the death penalty because I was sweating bullets. But that's the first thing that comes to mind.
For me, I just think of we're in Southern California. I'm not a USC fan, but I think of Reggie Bush. Yeah. The allegations against USC, of course. A coach getting out of there just at the right time, going up to the Seahawks and taking care of it. Dodging that bullet. But I feel Reggie Bush had to give back his Heisman. I just don't. Yeah. I don't like how those. Just because he got paid doesn't mean that takes away from his stats on the field.
That's true.
I don't like that rule. That's just me. I don't like that rule. Let's talk about stupidity. Let's talk about stupidity. Let's talk about a 9-point play in the NFL.
This is just ridiculous. This
Why?
seems like a cartoon.
Why would you
it's
do
like,
that?
Next thing you know, we're going to blindfold players and have them running around in circles, getting dizzy to see who can stay upright and kick balls through. It's stupid. A 9-point play?
So the NFL is going through meetings right now. They're having where they talk about rules and relegations. What can we change? How can we make the game safer? How can we make it better? So the Colts have an idea, which I'm assuming they're all sitting in a meeting having their coffee. And there's guys like, hey, I got an idea. How about a 9-point play?
Yeah.
Talk about the 9-point play, Michael. Break down the 9-point play.
That gets scores a 2-point conversion, which was something that was recently added, about 7 years ago, right? Maybe something like that, which I do like. They want to give that team the option of going for an additional field goal to make it a 9-point play.
50-yard field goal.
Oh, yeah, that's right, from midfield, which is so ridiculous because it doesn't need to be done. We're talking about...
It's like a half-court shot. It's a half-court shot is worth 5 points
back.
5 points half-court shot.
No, but it's stupid because it's like, let's face it. I mean, first of all, we all love football. It's probably the most popular sport right now in the country, But it's like, it's a long game. It's about 4 hours or so. So do you really want to tack on some extra time? I
just don't get. I mean, that's the problem with the NFL. The NFL is slow.
Yeah.
NFL is huge. Over $9 billion in revenue every year. It's the biggest. I mean, in the United States, it's the biggest sport for us. It's America's pastime, even though baseball, that was. It's huge. It makes tons of money, but it's slow.
Yeah.
It's just bogged down with so many commercials.
It's kind of like with basketball too, when it's like you have 2 minutes, but it might as well be 5 hours.
Well, you're watching an NFL game. You're just sitting there for a good 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
it is a long thing. I mean, I think this is going to slow the game. I don't think this is going to pass.
No, it's just stupid.
It's just but the fact that it was proposed. I mean, the Colts are like, well, who is this? I mean, who hired this guy? What is this rule? What's your? Let's talk about some of our favorite bad rules in the NFL. Which ones you don't like?
I know they do this in college, and I don't know. I'm kind of torn. Part of me kind of likes it because it's fair, and another part of me is like, oh, it just seems kind of lame. Is the whole in college in overtime. You know what I mean? One team scores, the other team gets a chance to do that again. It's fair, and I know they just recently added that 2 years ago, maybe 3 tops.
But it's weird. Yeah, it's weird the overtime, the way it works.
Well, that's the thing. It's like I'd rather almost just do without it. I get that it might suck to just kind of leave it up to chance with flipping a coin, see who gets it first. But then it definitely adds to the whole sudden death and puts that pressure. I like that excitement.
For me, it's on the defensive side. I don't like the whole defenseless receiver thing. Yeah. I realize it's a safety issue. Especially like we talked about Borland yesterday with the head trauma, retiring at the age of 24 for fear of that. I understand it's a safety. I don't want these guys to have brain damage when they get older. But, I mean, I think some of the center, they feel like they're scared now to hit.
Yeah.
When about to go, even when they lead with their shoulder, it still has a flag.
Yeah.
And I want to see more aggression. I don't want to see the quarterbacks being babied. I don't want anybody to have brain damage, but at the same time, I think it takes away from the game.
I agree.
So we're going to move on. We're going to switch sports. Did a little basketball, did some...
We cover everything
We cover everything here. Cover everything. We're going to talk about Ronda Rousey.
That's right.
The UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion.
Beast. Look at that photo.
People are calling her, pretty lady.
Yeah, she's a pretty lady.
But people are calling her a bully, saying she's mean, saying she feels picked on.
This is tough. First of all,
we're specifically talking about Juliana Pena.
Yes.
Who won the first all-women's UFC Ultimate Fighter, which is a reality show. Imagine American Idol, but you fight your way to the top. You win, you get a 6-figure contract. Juliana Pena won. Got injured after, so she hasn't had a fight since the tournament. But said Ronda's a bully, and I'm not afraid of her, unlike other people. She says that everybody else is afraid of her, but that's a lot of smack coming from someone who hasn't really proven herself yet.
That's the thing. I think this is just a chance for her to associate herself with Ronda, because Ronda is the biggest name in mixed martial arts. I mean, hands down.
One of the biggest female athletes
in the world.
Yeah.
So it's like, of course, and this is a girl that's just trying to kind of make a name for herself still. So she wants to attach herself, because again, we recently, if you go back a month or so ago, I believe, it really all started with Ronda Rousey talking smack about the card girls, like Ariane Celeste.
The lovely Ariane, who holds the round sign
and
up.
They do their job. I'm not knocking what they do, but basically Ronda said that it's not fair for those girls to get paid more than some of the fighters, because let's face it, people come here to watch the fighters. That's just a perk. That's a bonus for some of the guys. So that's kind of where the whole bully thing came. Now I guess Ronda doesn't. I mean, who does she really have to answer to at this point, except for like Dana White? She's so big, so it's like I don't mind if she walks around with a little weight, and I like that.
It always goes back to sex. It's always about sex, because the guys do this all the time. NBA, NFL, guys talking smack, UFC, especially boxing, Floyd Money Mayweather, just throwing hundreds in the air, just talking smack to everybody. I mean, but when a girl does it, when a female does it, a woman, is she being a bully? Is it too much? Ronda, she's tough, but actually compared to a lot of the guys, Charles Barkley, McEnroe in tennis, she's pretty tame, I think. I don't think she's that controversial. But I mean, let's talk about her being the most dominant athlete in the world, dominant female athlete in the world. This is a big statement.
It's a huge statement.
I mean, there's a lot of other solid athletes out there. Look at like Serena, which she's been doing over years and years. I mean, other athletes have done it for decades. The thing is with Ronda's very good, but she's also still young.
Yeah,
so some
27,
people, I think they might be a little too early to call her the most dominant female. She's the most dominant in her weight class. Yeah. But women's UFC is also so new.
Well, I think that too, and I think because of the impact that she's made in the UFC is so huge. It's, again, I'm not saying she's like Jordan or anything, but it's kind of for the women's division, kind of like that, like a Tiger Woods in his prime.
No, she's got a crossing over. She's got Fast and the Furious movie. She's using Expendables 3.
So I mean,
commercials.
She's a great fighter. She's pretty. So I mean, she's pretty much the total package.
Ronda Rousey, I don't know, best female athlete of all time in the world. I don't know. I think she has some years to prove that. We'll see what happens in the coming years. So we're gonna move on to our last topic. We're talking about NBA, National Basketball Association, current MVP. Stephen Curry's been in the news a lot lately. I believe he's on the Dan Patrick Show. He was talking on ESPN recently about voting and all that kind of stuff. And he was saying that right now for him, he would vote for LeBron James. Yeah. That would be his vote for MVP. But he did admit that if he could vote for himself, he would vote for himself.
Should vote for himself. I'd vote for him. I think he is the MVP.
MVP, it's a tricky conversation because MVP, some people say it's just stats. So if you have the most points, the most rebounds, most assists, like that's the MVP. But MVP is most valuable player.
Absolutely.
I mean, it sounds like an obvious thing to say, but it doesn't always mean who has the highest point total.
Well, that's the thing, and you and I have talked about this a lot. You look at someone like Russell Westbrook, who's having a monster season, especially like
I believe he had 36 points again last night. Another 30.
Yeah, he's been on fire. But those are individual stats. He's not really helping the team. Imagine Steph Curry not with Golden State. That's an entirely different team.
Right.
I mean, he's having such an amazing season this year, and what he's done for that team has just been incredible. Where Russell, it's more like it's just individual accomplishments. Hey, good for you. You're amazing. But Steph Curry's on another level right now.
That's why I feel like, with LeBron, giving LeBron respect, I think that shows LeBron. I mean, LeBron is a team player.
Yeah.
He moves around a lot. He guarantees, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7. He guarantees a lot of chances. Hasn't won that many titles. I don't think he ever will win that many titles, but he does distribute the ball. He's a great team player.
Yeah.
And both those guys are good team players. I think the team players, Chris Paul, those kind of guys deserve MVPs.
I agree.
Who else? Who's one of your more underrated players in the NBA who's not getting all the attention right now?
I'm not trying to say biased. I'm not trying to be biased.
Oh, we're going to the Chicago Bulls. All right, we're going to the Bulls.
But now you might think I'm crazy because he was an all-star this year, but I'm going to go with Jimmy Butler. And reason why is, again, I love Derrick Rose. He's a Chicago boy like myself. I'm always going to support him. But the thing is, Jimmy's still kind of in Derrick's shadow. And Derrick he hasn't done anything in the last few years. He's been hurt a lot, and Jimmy's really emerged as this amazing player. Like I remember talking to you about this, like even last season, like, oh, that guy's gonna be a superstar. Just wait. He's so good, and I think he's really finally starting to make a name. But unfortunately, when people refer to the Bulls, like, oh, that's Derrick Rose and the Chicago Bulls. It's like Jimmy Butler's not even like they might mention Joakim Noah before they even mention Jimmy Butler. So again, he's not completely underrated. I mean, he's like I said, he was an All-Star this year, but I think he's still underrated.
I'd have to go with, and it sounds, I don't know. I like Kyrie Irving. It's hard to call him underrated because he's so good.
He's got
his own shoe. I mean, Kyrie's big time. But I still think when you're with LeBron, LeBron's going to overshadow you for now. I mean, even though I think LeBron's loving being with Kyrie because he can pass the ball. Kyrie's having some great games, scored, 57 the other night? One of his career high totals. I mean, he's just a great player.
No, that's a good point, though, because like when LeBron was coming back to Cleveland, all the hype was about LeBron coming to Cleveland, Kevin Love going to Cleveland. Oh, yeah, that's right, Kyrie Irving's still in Cleveland.
One of the best guards in the league. Like, hey, let's not forget about him. I mean, it's going to be a great MVP race. I like that Steph Curry and LeBron are kind of supporting each other in this. Oh, that's all we have for today. Big night tonight. NCAA tournament begins tonight. Make sure you watch it. Kentucky, can they be beaten?
Ready.
Get those brackets ready. I'm sure they'll be busted by tonight anyway. Thank you for joining us on 3-Minute Warning here at the Stream.tv. Be sure to send in your questions, hashtag 3MW. We're going to try to get some Twitter questions tomorrow. I'm David Griffin. You can find me at GriffinDE on Twitter.
And I'm Michael Medina. You can find me at Mr. Michael Alexis, also on Twitter.
We'll be back tomorrow with another edition of 3-Minute Warning.